Imagine a situation so utterly insane, so deeply flawed in its basic logic, that it only exists in the greatest, most powerful economy on Earth. It's the magic trick of making billions of dollars from doing absolutely nothing, or rather, from actively causing massive, widespread chaos. I'm not talking about some passive investment guru scheme. I'm talking about the US government shutdown. Sounds like a political punchline, right? But the historical 2025 shutdown, where the American economy hemorrhaged a staggering $15 billion a week, was simultaneously a massive champagne toast for the world's richest elite. This is where human logic breaks down, where national dysfunction becomes a golden opportunity. And today, we're going to expose why the 2025 government shutdown was engineered to be a win for the rich.
Let's start with a scenario. Your family is having an argument about money. Dad wants a new Tesla, Mom wants to pay for your college tuition. The fight escalates so dramatically that your bank steps in and says, "That's it. You all need a timeout. We're locking all your credit cards." The lights go out, the fridge is empty, and Netflix is gone. At a family level, this is a disaster, an embarrassing display of immaturity. Now, scale this tragedy up. The house is America, the parents are the Democrats and the Republicans, and the locked credit card is the national budget. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the government shutdown. A recurring, predictable, yet perpetually shocking piece of American political theater. The official reason is always the same: a boring technicality. Congress failed to pass a budget or a temporary spending measure by the deadline of October 1st. In 2025, the script was tired but potent. Democrats demanded the budget include expanding healthcare subsidies. Republicans screamed, "No pork! Keep the healthcare separate!" They fought over foreign aid, domestic spending, and the real core issue, tax cuts for the wealthy. In a political climate where the two sides are either openly hostile or actively trying to destroy each other, reaching an agreement on something as complex as a national budget is less likely than finding a unicorn riding a unicycle. It's an intellectual failing. The world superpower cannot fulfill its most fundamental duty, agreeing on how to pay its own staff. It's like the CEO of a Fortune 500 company proudly announcing, "I was too busy arguing with my vice president, so payroll is canceled this month."
The absurdity reaches its peak when the government activates the infamous essential versus non-essential worker hierarchy. Group 1, the essential heroes, air traffic controllers, FBI agents, military personnel. These people are deemed so vital to national security and life protection that they are required to keep working without immediate pay. Think about that for a second. You are the only thing standing between the American public and complete pandemonium, yet your landlord is still knocking and your bank account is receiving a fat zero. The unspoken, chilling message delivered by the political elite is this: your job is too important for us to miss a day, but our political squabbles are more important than ensuring you can feed your kids. Then there's the tragically labeled non-essential group. In the 2025 fiasco, 750,000 to 850,000 human beings, many of whom are experts in their field working on long-term scientific and regulatory projects, were slapped with the fancy bureaucratic term furloughed. Translation: unpaid, mandated leave. They were banned from working, banned from checking their corporate email. Imagine the emotional whiplash, losing your job overnight not because of your performance, but because two wealthy, out-of-touch political factions couldn't share the sandbox. The shutdown cost wasn't just $15 billion in GDP. It was the cost of uncertainty, of delayed mortgages, missed school payments, and the emotional toll on the working middle class. This collective suffering, however, was merely a side effect, a convenient distraction from the true political game being played. In 2025, the shutdown was no longer a consequence, it was a mechanism. The president, armed with a majority in both houses, turned a failed budget negotiation into a brazen political weapon, a purge. It was not about funding the border wall this time, but about power consolidation. The line of thinking went, oh, those infrastructure projects and green energy initiatives championed by the opposition? Cut them! Let's see how much leverage you have when your key programs are starved of funding. This is the strategic genius of the modern shutdown. The wealthy and powerful treat the national budget not as a financial responsibility, but as a lever. It's a game of chicken where the political class never gets scratched, but the working people, the essential and the non-essential alike, get the bruises. But here is the most profoundly idiotic financial aspect. U.S. law dictates that furloughed government workers are ultimately paid retroactively once the government reopens. This means the American taxpayer is ultimately forced to pay hundreds of thousands of public servants to sit at home and do nothing. The Congressional Budget Office estimated this cost of inaction at about $400 million per day in retroactive wages. Think about it, $400 million a day paid out for zero services rendered simply to keep the political drama alive. The system is so broken that we pay massive sums for its very failure.
Now, for the shocking twist, the true reason the 2025 shutdown was a win for the elite, the stock market soared. While the national parks piled up with uncollected garbage and 800,000 families panicked, the S&P 500, the Dow, and the Nasdaq hit record highs. It sounds absurd, right? A national crisis, a $15 billion weekly hit to GDP, and the rich are getting richer? Yes, because the market, being the cold, calculating entity it is, understands the logic of the broken system. Investors realized two key things. One, delayed, not lost money. The government's spending is merely delayed, not canceled. All that money, including the $400 million a day in back pay, is guaranteed to eventually flow back into the economy. Why worry when the money train is just momentarily stuck on a political siding? 2. The Fed factor. Economic reports are halted during a shutdown. No news often means no bad news. But more importantly, the uncertainty can spook the Federal Reserve, potentially pressuring them to cut interest rates to stabilize the economy. Lower rates are like rocket fuel for stock prices. The result? The working class suffers the chaos and uncertainty, while the wealthy party on the guaranteed inflow of money and the potential boost from rate cuts. The shutdown became a perverse wealth transfer mechanism. And then we have crypto. The political dysfunction and the loss of faith in government-backed fiat currency drove investors straight into the arms of decentralization. Bitcoin briefly spiked to nearly $124,000 as investors desperately sought an asset that couldn't be manipulated by the bickering, dysfunctional halls of Washington. The chaos in D.C. was quite literally the best possible advertising for the digital revolution.
The 2025 shutdown was a perfect exhibition of a deeply illogical system. It's a recurring national disgrace that costs billions, paralyzes the workforce, and humiliates America on the global stage, where credit rating agencies are watching and judging. Yet, every time this drama concludes, we find the same culprits, the political elite, untouched, and the same beneficiaries, the financial elite, wealthier. It is a zero-sum game disguised as a tragedy. The question is no longer, when will they stop fighting? The real question is, in a system where failure to govern is strategically profitable for the ruling class, can we ever truly expect them to fix it? Are we, the American public, simply conditioned to accept chaos as the cost of doing business, while those at the top use that chaos as their personal ATM?